And we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen, with the World Championship Series here, Challenger EU edition. The NA edition will be coming up later today. I'm Nathanius, joined by the one, the only Jeff In Control Robinson to bring you some more StarCraft action. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing well at this ungodly hour.
Yeah, you holding it? You enjoying casting with Fear Dragon? You glad I'm back up here?
I am. There's something about Fear Dragon that just brings the contrarian out in me. He says something, I'm like, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Is he too pure of a soul?
He's too pure. It's too clean. I don't know.
Yeah. You guys have corrupted me enough over the years. I'm not as fun anymore.
No, you're filthy. Yeah.
So we've got another match coming up. For those of you guys, we're just going to go over real quick what's going on over here with the Challenger series as we are on day 2 of our broadcast.
You like that camera angle? I just tickled you.
It's a great camera angle. This is... I love it. So we've got 16 competitors go through the group stages. We already had 4 players move forward, 2 from NA, 2 from EU yesterday, and there's a good amount of money on the line. They're playing for the playoff brackets. We're going to be finalizing that next month, but we're currently on Group B. We've got Nurtio and Euthermal who will be going up in the winner's match. That is what's coming after this one. But now we've got to do the lower bracket match. It's souL versus Clem. It's Terran versus Terran, and whoever loses is out.
Yeah, it has a little bit of the feel of like 2 sacrificial lambs kind of just mauling at each other. Like
I was thinking,
bad. You know,
I was thinking more like you break the pool cue in half and you throw it, you know.
Yeah.
Or you only throw one half in the middle. It's like
full Joker here.
Yeah. That's what a loser match does feel like.
It kind of has that. Well, no, yeah. I mean that's the funny thing though. It is that break the pool cue thing, but
well, you'd prefer to imagine 2 lambs fighting each other.
I think either one of these guys, unfortunately, get just destroyed. This group...
They're not even carnivores. Like, what's their primary method of combat if they're lambs?
Lambs? You've never seen lambs fight?
Are they like adult ones that even have horns?
They headbutt.
They headbutt?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Lambs can eat clothing, too, man. You got to be real careful against these guys.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, this will be an interesting match, and I'm excited for it. Clem is, of course, if you guys talked about this, I'm sure, in the first match, but he's a very young guy. Yeah. I think this is his first foray into WCS. Yep. Am I correct in that? Yeah.
We've gotten a few of those now. Future was the same way yesterday in the NA group.
And it's 16, isn't it? Is that when you can first do it?
I think it's 16 to play.
Holy cow.
I don't even know if
I am twice this man. Do you realize that? I could fit 2 Clems inside me, both physically and age-wise. That's how it works.
I don't want to think about that. We've got our next match underway. We're loaded into Catalyst to kick things off. It's a TvT. What more? What more could you ask as I'm pressing all the wrong buttons? We have in the top left our red Terran player. He is Clem. And he's facing off against our blue Terran in the bottom right. He is souL. I tried to press the hotkey to show the little fancy best of 3 icon, but I guess they changed it. So I have no idea how to pull it up, just so you know. Oh. I feel like I should share that with you, Jeff, because I feel slightly embarrassed.
Don't. I think it's amazing how far we've come with observing, but I haven't. I don't know what key I would even begin to hit to see that, but
I don't know what that is.
It's going to be a tough turnaround here. souL got bopped. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It was Euthermal who has this ridiculous record against him, where like the last time souL won, Fear Dragon was talking about, was 1.5 years ago. And it's not like they don't play against each other. So I'm sure there's been some ladder wins or something like that. But for the most part, that's really scary. Now he faces Clem, who I think he has to feel a lot more confident about. But in the same matchup where he just had to show everything. That's the kind of scary thing about these groups. Clem just saw 2 TvTs, whereas souL watched Clem play a TvZ. So of course, he's familiar with Clem's play style and what he tends to like. But as far as what he thinks he needs to do to get a win in a best of 3 right now, he's coming a little bit dark.
So, I found the magical button. So, yeah, on this map, I'm just going to go into the match analysis because I was trying to figure out this thing there, Jeff.
Yeah.
But great commentary. I love you.
Thank you.
We had a single gas opener from souL. So what he's doing is basically just normal Reaper expand. On this map, you do have the backdoor area that you kind of have to worry about with Reapers. Clem has put 2 supply depots. This will block it just fine. Otherwise, single engineering bay can do it. You know, as a pros player, I'm sure you know. Like, same, those 3, the 3 hex
I never block
block it.
You don't block them in there, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But why?
It's not good.
Okay.
There's no reason to. And I think Clem's even putting his factory in the exact same spot he did in, or not Clem, excuse me, souL. In just literally last game.
So he's going to use that factory there to block the Reaper because he wants to have his depots up front. I'm not sure that that's like, it's not really consequential at this point. like maybe versus some cheeses. The Reaper on the high ground for souL, he's kind of in this anticipating spot, waiting for the Reaper to jump up there, and that's how he gets that first shot or two. Clem tries to go around the backside and poke. Now his Reaper is hurt, and this is a really uncomfortable position to be in. In TvT, games can end really fast if you get that first Reaper picked off because you do not have anything else to help fight or deal with this, and you do not want your expansion to get delayed. And there you go.
Oh my gosh.
All you gotta do is take the wrapping paper off. That's it. It's done.
It's a fraction of a second.
It came pre-assembled. Just take it out of the box. There we go. But the second Reaper shows up right as the Hellion finishes. And a good reaction there from souL. I think if you find yourself with just that one Hellion versus the two Reapers, it gets really tough. But in this situation, it's okay. The Cyclone follow-up is here. He's building another Cyclone back home. He is expanding behind this.
Oh. Lose the Reaper for free, too. And at first glance, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but the grenade could actually really help.
Yeah, especially with the way that the rate of fire on the Cyclone works. Moving it around is very nice. This is not uncommon to see. He's just going to try to bully this command center back, prevent him from building SCVs with it. And, of course, he's taking a good chunk of its health out, so he doesn't want to move down to the natural either.
Well, he's already up 3 SCVs, which in a mirror matchup is a big deal. I mean, in some of the other matchups, it doesn't seem to have as big of an impact, but when both players are doing the same thing, and it's just getting worse here as well.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that you have that tech setup from having the faster double gas, so it's not even like Clem is ahead on workers because he expanded faster. He's ahead on workers because he made the expansion that souL went for. Yeah. It's just inactive. You just can't do anything. And the second Cyclone's going to show up. I don't think this should do too much, though, since there is a Cyclone coming out for souL.
Great buffer from that SCV, actually, kind of absorbing some of the initial fire and then pushing them off. And now that they have the top of the ramp, the pressure should be done for now. Clem's going to circle back around. Behind this, it looks like he is going to go mech.
Double reactor factory is going to be his opening, so the potential for a lot of Hellions, a lot of Cyclones. With the number of Marines on the map for souL, getting up a fast 4 to 6 Hellions to take a big shot on those while your Cyclones just target fire down the other Cyclones is really big.
What does souL do? I mean, I guess you don't scan because these players are very kind of stubborn about that, but if you find out you're facing double reactor, what, you just make some tanks?
It's very unusual. Like, tanks defensively should work, but these Cyclones have such crazy damage output. Even with all of those units on repair, still able to focus down the bunker and really just putting on insane pressure because we have more Cyclones being made. Hellions are being made behind this. Great block, though, with that Mule to get those kills. And I think this right here is really important because he wants to put pressure on and force him to build those tanks and be defensive. But he's trying to build a third on location, and this Hellion sees that. And at the same time, he actually got a Banshee inside of the main base. It's up to 5 kills. It should be 4 kills.
Gets out. But the second scan, but even that's kind of nice as well.
Yeah, it's the Banshee thing is always weird versus Cyclones because the Cyclone attack is not a real attack. So like normally, if you cloak, like you can dodge bullets, but if it's an ability shot, the ability always connects even if they no longer can see you. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And by flying over the factories, souL says to himself, the Cyclone battles begin.
Yes, the Cyclone wars, they have begun. Taking down this third base would be pretty huge. He doesn't really have any way to deal with this. I think you right-click this.
Why are you microing? Just do it.
Yeah. Stop overly microing.
Just do it. He did.
This is a really big win for him because Clem's build was like putting him in a position to really bully him as he's had all these units trying to pressure, and if he was able to push with a bunch of Cyclones on the left side, take out that tank and get himself behind the mineral line with those very fast units, which is something that does happen. There's a lot that you can do position-wise just because Cyclones are so difficult to deal with. Like they're a little bit cumbersome, but with 180 hit points, they can soak up a lot of damage.
Why the Raven here for souL? He sees the tech and knows that he's not facing anything cloaked. What does it do here?
It is kind of weird, mostly because he's not opening with, like, if there were a bunch of tanks for Clem, then the Raven is really nice because you can use the interference matrix to bust the position. But you're not going to have enough interference matrices, I guess, that's the problem.
Nicely done.
To deal with the Cyclone count. So maybe he wants to use an anti-armor missile and allow his Marines to just do, a billion damage per second against these forces, since that would put the Cyclones at -2 armor. And with +1 attack for Marines, that's the same thing, I guess, as having +3 attack versus the Cyclones.
Like an 8-minute +3 attack is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is just the one.
There really is no bad use case for the anti-armor missile if you're going to fight with with Cyclones or Marines because they shoot so fast. It is really nice to have that. But I mean, auto turrets are also okay.
I feel like it's just a good thing to have, I guess. He had the tech lab for the Banshees, and he's like, you know what, let's get a Raven out here.
I think if you have the control to use it, any matchup in this meta, you should always have at least a Raven. And the anti-armor missile is too powerful to just be like, I don't want to build Ravens ever. You should always have at least one if you can manage it.
Okay, I think the final Banshee has been defeated. And now Clem is, wow, this third has been delayed so many times.
Yep, he tried to take it very quickly with that very first attack with the Cyclones, and it has only just now completed. And
Barrett, there we go.
Funnily enough, this third base is just now coming out for souL, but he's got that big attack coming in. So he delayed his own third a pretty significant amount. He wasn't in a rush to take it because of the damage he was getting done. This Blue Flame Hellion gets a few shots off, trying to delay that base from being used.
And sees the timing of it as well. Recognizes that he has his slightly faster. So they can kind of perhaps change his decision about whether or not he needs to be the aggressor or defender. And as you pointed out, Nate, here comes the aggressor.
Yep, this isn't bad because in this stage, I'll take back what I said about the interference matrix because he does have that tank transition coming up to try and hold the defenses. So if he doesn't have a lot of tanks and spreading them out means there may only be 1 or 2 at this base.
Yeah.
He has enough to use that ability 3 times. So shutting down the tanks at the third, this should be an easy third denial for souL if he controls properly.
Hope there. He's only got the 3 tanks behind this, but pretty darn good. There is that.
Oh, he shuts down the medevac so they can't unload the Hellbat drops onto the bio. It's an interesting choice rather than going for the rest of the siege tanks, but it will work because he's got the Marines underneath that command center. Nothing here to repair it. It is starting to burn down. The Hellbats are going to try to be dropped onto him. He's trying to shut this down. If he can keep a few of the Marines alive and chase that down, it'd be very nice, but Clem looks like not going to be able to stop this push, but he will get the command center back towards his national.
Yep, just in time, but that's very much, oh wow, even losing the medevac there with 2, and that's it. Clem taps out, good attack from souL, and he scores first blood.
Not bad at all. I mean, it comes down to a few things. Using the interference matrix in that situation, at first I was like, well, he's got a good amount of units, so you can't neutralize everything with it. Anti-armor missile would help a lot with for the Marines, since the AoE effect of it is so big. It would hit almost the whole army at that point. But since he wanted to drop Hellbats on top of the army, and I think you realize that he's a mech player with medevac, so those are all probably full.
Right.
He's got a good 12 supply that's just cannot be used. He doesn't have enough tanks, so he didn't need to lock down 3 tanks. So he needed to lock down 1, and there was just 1 more in the back.
Well, yeah, and I kind of like that it takes the game plan that Clem was opting for, and in a couple of seconds, because I think tanks are the obvious choice, right? That's what everyone kind of naturally gravitates towards. Even your first off-the-cuff reference was, well, you shut down the tanks.
Yeah.
And I think everyone thought that, but when he shuts down the medevacs, all of a sudden Clem's like, well, I got to lift my command center because it's dying. I also can't drop, so am I waiting? Am I going for it? And souL took that indecisiveness and was able to kind of score a mortal blow. Really nice.
Yeah. I think the big key there that you touch on is also the position of the tanks was a little bit further back because the command center had to be lifted. If the tanks are far up enough that he could push them away, then you want to focus on the tanks. But because the Hellbats were the only units that could move forward, not only do the medevacs lose that ability to heal, they lose the ability to boost, but they also lose, they can't drop the Hellbats onto the bio, which is what they needed to do to save that command center.
And again, another tip of the hat, nice turnaround there for souL, who did just, he had a rough match against Uthermal, but is able to, just a couple minutes later, go up against Clem, who's another one of those top European players, and get a nice win here for himself. I thought he played really well. And that's the kind of bounce back you need from these WCS Challenger players, because these groups happen so fast. Yesterday, we were in and out with two groups chock full of great players in, 7 hours or something like that. It's just... these guys are really good. Wins can come pretty quick. You gotta be ready for it.
TvT is an especially brutal matchup in that way where you have those units that can just do so much damage so fast, whether it's your Marine Marauder or it's having those 3 siege tanks all able to fire with Hellbat drops on top of the bio. But opening-wise, the game was interesting. A lot of games in TvT can end in that early phase where you have that first Reaper, because if it's not about that one unit, but it's you kill that Reaper, so when the Hellion pops, they don't kill your Reaper, and suddenly you have 2 Reapers and a Cyclone, and they only have that Hellion and those few Marines. And if you kill those Marines, then the Cyclone comes out and has no support, and then you have your second Cyclone, and it's...
can snowball from there.
Yeah, so TvT is especially dangerous at the start. On that map, you have a little more room to work with. Next, we're going to Black-Pink, which... It's a little bit easier. You have the ramp that leads into the natural. You can block the Reaper cliff area with one supply depot. So
okay.
Because of that, you don't see the Reaper play as crazily, and defending is much easier on the two bases.
Well, we'll see what they opt for. souL, for one reason or another, did actually try for a pretty aggressive, cheesy opening against souThermal. With a 1-0 here, he can go either way with that, and I do like that kind of psychology in these matchups, where when you're 1-0, either thing is possible. You can go CC first and go on that side. You can play it safe. I actually kind of like the play it safe option the least of all of it. Yeah. I think one of the best ways to really put someone down or set yourself up for a nice game 3 is to do something a little bit wild, make them kind of think of all the things.
And on this map, there are some especially cheesy builds that, or there's at least there's one that really comes to mind, and I'll point it out once we're loaded in, because it has a lot to do with the makeup of this map. But let me set the score for the players, and we are good. We are loaded in to souL versus Clem going in to game number 2. Spawning in the top right position, we have the red Terran player. Could not make his mech defense work. He is Clem, and his opponent, who I think you were literally just talking about this, Jeff. He's bringing out the cheddar wheel. It's
I like
souL.
it. This is what I think you do in a best of 3, best of 5, whatever. When you get up like this, your opponent's already starting to kind of think about it. But even we can go around in these circles forever. I really struggled with this as a pro gamer when I was playing. The idea of, you know, are they cheesing? Should I scout for it? But then when you scout and you don't find anything, then you start to doubt yourself, where you're like, gosh, now I'm playing against ghosts, basically. Like I'm chasing shadows that aren't there. But it is real, and I love this move.
Yep, and he has no idea that this is happening yet. By the time his SCV reaches the other side of the map, these barracks will be done, and we'll be seeing what's usually that double Reaper, and then they go factory back home with an expand. It's really hard to deal with, because in the old days, it would be the 3 racks Reaper, full commitment, try to kill you, but you know, opening up with that 4 to 6 Reapers, it is usually like 4 or 5 off of this.
I love the SCV scout, though.
Very difficult.
I think that's a healthy balance, where Clem's going to pretty immediately go, okay, I know that it's obviously a proxy. The go-to, I think, for right now in the meta is probably those Reapers. It's a lot less likely that it's like really fast Cyclone or something. But
you do see that sometimes, and that's what you have to be really careful for. The proxy reactor Cyclone is still done. It's still popular enough that it's one of those builds you have to consider. And also sometimes you get the double proxy Marauder thrown in, because that counters your anti-Reaper build if you just try to build Reapers on your own, or you try to hold with like a bunker and they just float it up. So it can get weird, but he'll know that it's Reapers very soon. He's gonna wait for his second one to pop out, I think, before he starts poking. But SCVs are already coming to assist the first Reaper so that he can use them to tank.
Yeah, and a Marine there. And as you point out, kind of interesting, perhaps to be critical of as well, as this attack does begin, is this map's uniquely kind of bad for Reapers. There is that depot and bunker at the top over there.
He cannot jump up here.
If he holds this ramp, I mean, he killed 1 Reaper, but that's not the biggest of deals. If that's all he does, it's not good.
This spot right here, this is where the Reapers can jump. They could go here, but that's not, you know, it's a little bit further back. The Marines will still be able to shoot going up there. So he has to force the ramp, use the grenades, push the Marines back. And really, what Clem needs to do is get out a Hellion or 2 or get the Cyclones coming. Does kill one of the Reapers. That's a big pickup.
Yeah, and he did not lob a grenade there at that last one. And as you said, the Hellion needs to get out here. It's queued up. Back at home, souL is developing as well. So it's not like this is a complete all-in. The Reapers have to do everything.
Yeah. That was the evolution of this attack, is the 3-Rex Reaper stopped being so popular because it was a really committed all-in type play where your Reapers had to win. But now with the way that the Cyclone works and the Hellion support, you just build a handful of Reapers, and as soon as you decide that you don't want to do this anymore, you can still fall back. You're not so all-in that the game is over if your Reapers don't win it for you.
Yeah, and the players start to kind of learn what they need to do, because it used to be, too, that it was weird, because if they just keep making Reapers, then you just kind of die, but with a Cyclone, you can get kind of muscly.
Yep.
That being said, though,
he's going to have to pull the SCVs. His Cyclone is about to finish, which will be enough to deal with this, so he's going to push the Reapers back. He saw that the command center was on the way, now without getting a few more SCV kills, but that barracks also provides vision, and the Cyclone will take it about a century to pick off this command center.
It's really fantastic that it's able to kind of keep spotting up here and see what's going on at the top of this ramp.
Yeah, because he can work away on the depot on this side now, and that Cyclone's range isn't quite long enough to effectively deal with this. He salvages the bunker, which gives him more wiggle room, but we see back home that there's a Banshee coming out for souL, and one of these Reapers actually does slip by, trying to just scout, see what's going on.
Yeah.
No tech lab on the starport means he doesn't have to worry about Banshees himself. It could just be that Viking or single Liberator harass, and we know that it's a Viking because his barracks sees it.
Really good information there as well. The cloak's going to be perhaps very handy, but this entire force does get cleaned up. A little bit sloppy there. The thing is, Reapers don't really contribute later, so anytime you see that, it's like, it's unfortunate because it would have been nice to maybe try a run by later or something, but it's also not the biggest of deals. And now souL has a slight economic advantage, by the way. He's worked out for himself 3 more SCVs. He's going to continue to be the aggressor as that Banshee makes its way across the map. And that in and of itself has its kind of own inherent damage. You're going to scan and hope to stop it from killing a number of SCVs, but it still almost always kills about 2 or 3, and the scan itself could have been a mule.
Yeah, he will have 2 scans available if he doesn't drop it, but actually, as I say that, the Raven's about to finish, so it's not so bad. Yeah. It's not so bad.
Okay, that's actually, I didn't point that out. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and Clem's going to be going for a mech setup again this game. Actually, using interference matrix, he's saying, I have detection, but now you can't just trade this out. You can't just kill 4 SCVs while the Viking picks off the Banshee. So he's taking no chances.
I got to adjust my brain because I didn't even think of that as the reaction immediately, and that kind of flips it on its head where Banshees are still okay, and they'll poke and prod as long as it doesn't get picked off here in the middle of the map. Can also deflect aggression, but it's different with the Raven out there. It kind of just kills him for free, I guess, with a Viking.
Yep. So the scan with the Cyclones are able to pick that one off. Funnily enough, because you can't turn off Cloak, you still have the ability still activated even though you're not invisible.
Oh, interesting.
So it burns through the Banshee's energy even if you don't kill it.
So they're cloaked, but the ability reveals them, and they can't turn it off.
It works the same as the Oracle. If you use it on an Oracle, it won't be able to turn off Pulsar Beam. Even though it can't shoot, it'll still burn up energy.
Man, those Ravens are pretty darn good, Nathanius.
Yeah. Some would say a little too good in control.
What can't they do?
They can't.
Well, he's going to keep trying, though. He's got this Banshee coming over here, and if you look at that production tab, he is going to switch over to Raven, so perhaps not going to just dribble it out forever. Double eBay means that we're going to see some bio out of souL.
Yeah, so it's going to be another bio versus mech setup with Clem playing around with that quicker blue flame. I always do like seeing the fast blue flame because for the most part, if you want to build Marauders early on, you're going to destroy your own economy. So you do usually see it trend towards the heavier Marine count at the start, which is why we don't see as many siege tanks. But another Banshee's going to roll up, and he's got to bring that Raven over and shut it down. We see the interference matrix once more on the Banshee so that it cannot get away, and it does get picked off.
I think it killed the Hellion. I think that's all it killed. So really nice from Clem.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of defending. Like the resource management, you think about the energy on the orbitals usually, but now it's also like the energy is lining up very well when these Banshees arrive for the Raven to continue to use the interference matrix. So you can't just do that cheeky thing where you're like, yeah, I'm going to lose Banshees, but you're going to have half the SCVs of me. It's like, no, you're not really killing that many SCVs. It's okay. And I'm playing mech, so my mineral income isn't as important as yours anyway.
It's just a single Raven, too. Like you said, the way the energy kind of shakes up. It popped, had the energy for that ability, and then by the time the next Banshee showed up, it again had the energy as well. And it was just one Viking that killed it last time, and the 2 is almost overkill. But very nice from Clem, as he does secure for himself, or he did, excuse me, for a while there, at least a pretty significant army advantage, which with mech's a little bit interesting, because if you're not going to get out there and punish, I don't know, Bio's like looking to trade, so if you have a higher supply in mech, it feels like you should be out there doing something with it.
Yeah, Bio, it's just such a weird thing, the way that the Raven also affects Bio versus mech setup, because that anti-armor missile, if you can get a handful of Ravens later on, is really gnarly versus Marine Marauder, since it's just a lower health army comp, and you usually try to win with brute force rather than splitting versus the tanks, since you try to catch the tanks off guard. So having a handful of Ravens in the end game is really nice. But we're seeing, look at this one more time, Medivacs with the Hellbat play. So he wants to have the aggressive options to posture. He does have a very nice army.
I like this setup a lot better. I mean, defending with this style of armor. I mean, it's not like that's what Clem was opting for, but I just feel like his success here is a lot more likely because he'll be dropping and attacking as opposed to trying to spread out 3 tanks across 3 bases.
Yep. Now he's trying to use this one tank to hold the area that he can move most of this army to, as his Cyclones actually get nabbed, and trades 2 Cyclones for some health on Hellbats that are being healed by the Medivacs.
Yeah. Not the best. He's just trying to buy time because his Bioforce is really unimpressive so far.
Yeah, well, the way that army's clumped up, an anti-armor missile in the middle of that could also turn that army to very juicy composition. He does hit the mech army with it, so a better anti-armor missile here for souL, and he gets that army spread out. The Hellbats are going to drop on top of him. That third base is in a lot of danger. Meanwhile, back home, he actually did get a good few SCV kills in the natural of Clem. He's going to bring everything out of his own to try and knock this down. Those blue flame Hellbats are great versus the SCVs, but he killed the tanks of Clem. Yeah. So the real bulwark of this push has been eliminated.
I feel like it was the pulling of the SCVs that did a really fantastic job there in particular. It is actually a Banshee that shows up and does that damage. Holy cow.
Gets actually that 12th kill at the very end as it dies. So, you know, the Banshees were neutralized pretty much all game, but the one that got in was at the most important time. And Clem finds himself without a lot of economy to fall back on. I don't even think we have a third orbital command for him. So souL's like, I'm going to take a fourth. You're on 2 bases. Good luck with that. Try to drop Hellbats on my Marauders. We'll see how that goes.
And I feel like Clem was kind of all in with that in the sense that when you fall back, you don't have a third CC. Getting more mech is the harder way to do this. Like you can see it's just 2 tanks anchoring this, whereas it was 3 with the initial push. Yep. I mean, souL can still mess this up. It just feels like if you're playing the number game, oh, wow. Okay, so he's going to back up because he's respecting the Hellbats, but geez.
It's a good way to do it. Like, the Hellbat play has a lot of power, but all he needs to do is pick off just the Cyclone, 1 or 2, one of the tanks, and that's when this falls apart. But also, as long as he's just building his own tanks at home, he should be fine. And there's those 2 medevacs we saw leaving earlier. Some tanks are going to finish in the face of them, but...
So many SCVs.
Yeah, he has to pull his workers to fight, and the tanks are actually not going to be able to kill this on their own, so...
So now he's mega all in, and he's at the natural. But with only 3 tanks over here, I believe it's a really hard sell, because as time goes on, souL's army is going to get pretty massive. There is no Rave. He's going to try to drop on top of him on the ramp. It's a good angle, doing as much damage as he can, but the SCV is being pulled. The supply is telling me that souL is going to be able to weather this storm. It's going to be ugly, though.
Yeah, he does kill a lot of the forces here, but those Marines are going to trickle out at a pace that will still be able to help fight against this because the third base is still mining. Unlike at Clem's base where it's like, oh, a tank and a Hellion finish. No, that's not going to stop the drop.
Oh, and the tank gets picked off there as well.
But when a couple Marauders and a couple Marines come out, they can kill 1 or 2 of these units, and that's what's going to allow souL to weather the storm, as you put it.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see that 2-0 victory for him. Clem has lost everything back home. He has 2 SCVs, and his tanks are all dead.
And this is the army. He's got to somehow win the entire game right here. He's not going to be able to do it. Clem taps out, and souL gets a little bit of revenge, finds a 2-0 for himself, and lives on.
Not bad at all. souL playing some very smart StarCraft. It always feels weird to see, like, some guys would do this. I think back to, like, Bomber. He was famous for, he's like, I don't care whatever you have. I'm going to keep building Ravens or Banshees all game. Just going to send him. I'll find a hole eventually. And being able to take out the economy of a 2-base Terran player with that Banshee as he's attacking you, it takes the wind out of his sails. He can't afford to reinforce the Hellions or the Cyclones. So he just dies. And really great play by souL. His game 1 attack was also perfect. Used Interference Matrix beautifully. And it was another game, too, where at the start here, souL had that opportunity with the aggression, so I also want to say kudos to Clem for the defense because that is not a difficult build to hold either. But unfortunately, that means he's eliminated now, and souL will have another opportunity to get out of this group later today.
Yeah, and you know, Fear Dragon talked about momentum yesterday. I like that because that's a great way to bounce back. I guarantee you he is now firmly in Euthermal's corner saying, beat that Nurcio, which is not necessarily the greatest of options, but at least he's not like, you know, going 1.5 years without having beat him. So that'll be interesting. It'll be good.
So we're going to go to our winners match next. That, of course, as you just said, will be Nurcio versus Euthermal. You're watching the World Championship Series. We'll be right back.